Well, I think I have Jen, and then I think I have Ben next. Okay. Yep. All right, trying to avoid more disruptions, but I think we're back together. All right, so next we have on our agenda, Volunteer Association, and President Jen King is going to give us an update. So Jen, I'll have you come up here to the empty seat and turn the microphone on.
Thank you. I think we have a lot to be proud of, and I'm just really excited to come and just share some of our accomplishments and some things that we're doing. And then also some requests that we have too. Lots to celebrate, and I have a list to go through. Currently, we have over 36 responding volunteer firefighters. Over 16 of those have medical certifications of EMT or higher. And in an environment where other departments are experiencing declines in their volunteer force by over 115% annually, we continue to grow, and we've maintained an impressive retention. And other than a few we lost during the pandemic, most of our losses have been because of job offers, which is something to, I think, to be celebrated. Some of them are on temporary leave or mostly it's due to family needs. At least 8 of those that we've lost have taken career positions. They are successful in those positions and they maintain their active volunteer status with us still. So I think that they're enjoying their time with us. The majority of our public events have been included. They've had at least one full engine of fully staffed volunteer members, if not more. And did you know that at least 5 of our volunteers are bilingual, which we've utilized most recently on our smoke alarm detector project. 80% of those homes were first time. That's the first fire alarm that was put in their home, and we wouldn't have been able to communicate with them unless we had our bilingual partners with us. And then finally, and some more good news, the current funds that we have in our business account is in excess of $77,000. So I think that is attributed a lot to our success on some of the biggest events that we've had, the fire event in McIver Park and some other things that have been going on. The community's noticing and they want to be a part of it. Some of the ways that we're using those funds is primarily for building up the engagement of our volunteers, the appreciation of their efforts. Also, we're supporting our career staff with some of those efforts as well. We're financing some critical personal protection and safety equipment. In the last 2 years, we funded $30,000 in turnouts. And just recently, we've approved funding up to $24,000 in safety and rain jackets. This is for each of our active volunteers and including our support staff. It's all really great news. We have many of our volunteers just reaching out to them and asking them what they think is going well. They're very happy with our leadership. They're feeling supported by the career staff from you guys each day as they come in. They're feeling engaged during fire drills and alarms, and they're very eager to learn. In my opinion, the leadership has been extremely positive, very constructive when we have disagreements, and there's that moving forward. It seems to be going really well. We have a common goal. So that being said, we've also identified some significant opportunities within the department. Some of the volunteers are expressing some frustration and concern within the organization. They have fears that we'll be unable to sustain our volunteer force. And so the top 3 of those is what I've selected to share with you today. They were identified as poor communication, not feeling that their time with us is appreciated, and feeling like they don't have access to desired trainings. So while much of this I think we address on a daily basis, I think these are things that a lot of people would have concerns with, more on a very specific basis, but we rely on them. And so in listening to them and the ways that our association has tried to support them through some of these grievances, we have created some teams within the committees that are more focused on this engagement piece and the communication piece. One of the recent committees that we have is the merchandise committee. It's also designed for some engagement as well. They're working on providing our team with incentives for jobs well done. So there might be a swag that they get, or a way to recognize them for what their efforts have been, just more as a surprise basis. It also allows them to have a stock to choose from, maybe at a small cost to them, but they can get some additional district gear. And I think it helps them feel special and important. We also have a new fund committee that was approved. This is a combination between volunteers and career staff. And so we're hoping that that will be something that they're working on, creating events that not only engage the members here, but also engage their families. Examples might be potluck, or maybe a movie night or theater night that's here at the station. Our business meetings are more of a family style. We usually have our meals there, trying to support those that come straight home from work. And then each month, something new. This will be our third month that we select a volunteer of the month, and they're nominated by all staff. Anybody is welcome to submit their nominations, and they're selected by our association. They receive a gift as well as recognition during the association meeting, and they have their own designated parking that's for that month until the next one's selected. But there's still a big need, and that's my ask to you guys, is that we really think you could make a huge impact for us. Although I think many have been tasked with really steering the ship, if you will, the captain of the volunteers. But I think we would really like to see somebody designated to support us, a training officer, or an engagement retention officer, someone that we can go to that helps us understand what the minimum requirements are that we're meeting. If we're not meeting them, continue communication of where our status is. So that may be, if you're not meeting it that month, helping them and encouraging them to figure out ways to do that. Also working alongside with them on their career paths. If they have additional trainings, maybe they just want, or maybe they need, maybe we need them to have maybe drivers or whatever that might be, a way to help step alongside them and give them one person to connect with. And also more of a proactive approach to that, rather than having our volunteers feeling like they're going and being their only advocate, that we have someone else designated as an advocate within the department. So the resounding message, I think, is that things are going really well. Volunteers are, for the most part, I think, feeling engaged, feeling happy with the department, feeling supported here. And I think it's going in a really good direction. But as we grow, we're finding those cracks, and we're hoping to find a little bit more support to fill that in, so we can have a clear path and make sure we don't lose people that are dedicated.
Good job. I'm pretty proud of this volunteer association and what they've done in the last year and a half. Compared to what we did before, and got a whole lot more money in the bank and
Yeah.
lots of good reasons to use it. It's great.
Define that advocate for me a little bit better in detail. What do you personally see there, I guess, would be my question.
What would that advocate do? Or
What position do you see that being?
so, for example, I think we have some people that might not be meeting minimums.
Okay,
Or they need to show up for a certain amount of drills. They need to be here for a certain career shift.
okay,
They need to be aware of when they're not meeting their hours. Right now, we don't really have a very organized and efficient process for doing that. Maybe it becomes an irritant and we have someone notify a leader and then they look into it, but there's no real organized process.
for that.
We also don't have a way that's really organized and efficient to celebrate those that are putting in the extra effort and extra time. So if we have someone that's consistently here for multiple hours, more so than we're asking of them, and we'd like to celebrate that, maybe celebrate the top 3 and give them some recognition for all of their hard work. We have some volunteers that they have skill sets of construction, or they're helping us in ways that we don't have to pay for. They're here and they're just doing it out of their own time. Ways to help support those individuals and recognize them. We're doing that in small ways with the merchandise and
Yeah.
trying to give them certificates and the works, but I think a handshake only goes so far sometimes, and it'd be nice to have someone that's dedicated and proactively working on celebrating those accomplishments.
So do you see that as a paid position or?
Yeah,
Yeah, Chief, you had talked about volunteer recruitment and retention position at some point.
Right, so it's had recruitment and retention coordinators work for me in the past, prior to here, for the past 15 years. So it's the first time I haven't had one, and there's a lot that they do that picks up the slack when it comes to everything Jen's talking about. We did apply for that through a safer grant from FEMA. We didn't get it this time. That should be opening up soon, and I'll be reapplying for it. I was kind of surprised we didn't get it this last time. It's usually a pretty popular position to fund, so I'll keep chasing that. But it's something that would be a huge benefit here. If we don't feel like we're being successful via the grant funding, then it's something we need to really look at, is flat out funding out of the annual budget.
So this advocate, like, also be the training officer? Is that what you're kind of looking at? I mean,
well,
I'm not in the fire
yeah,
service on a day-to-day basis, so I don't understand, but.
It could be, my previous employer, it was strictly recruitment retention coordinator, and it was an overall position, not just volunteer specific, but for everybody in the department. Prior to that, my previous employer was a training / recruitment retention coordinator. So I mean, it can work both ways. I think here that would do really well for us to have a person that does training and does the recruitment and retention.
Was there a certain amount of that Lashbrook filled?
not really. We've
Okay,
always
I'm just
been
trying to
really
verify.
missing it. He
Yeah.
did do some of that. I think all of us have done some of it.
Yeah.
And so I think the benefit of this discussion is that we really need someone that's their only job if we want to retain our volunteers, because we are doing our best. But I don't think it's successful, and I think it's going to get harder as we continue to grow. The training piece is, I think, more so showing that recognition. That's why we were talking about training,
Yeah.
following a career path. There's some people that are here to get a job, but there's quite a few that just want to be here to help their community out and make it not cost more to the taxpayers. They want to be a part of something big like we're doing. And so to support those people takes a special kind of recognition or appreciation.
Can you see that as a 40-hour-a-week position?
I don't know. It's a good question.
I got a question, Chief. Couldn't our chief officers help with that a little more? Couldn't Joe? Maybe overlook that too, or help with that?
We're doing that now. But there's only so many hours in a day, right? And we're still in our infancy as a fire district. So there's still a hill we're climbing, but yeah, I mean, that's there. It's part of the job.
Okay,
Regardless of whether we have a recruitment and retention coordinator, that's still part of the job. It's just,
Sure.
that's where we're at.
okay.
Most
see
of the
that.
volunteers are saying that they feel very supported. If they are asking for something directly from chiefs or even captains or lieutenants, they're getting the help they need, but it's really piecemeal. It's not attacking it efficiently like I think we need to do if we're gonna be sustainable, especially with how many volunteers we have. It's a big job.
We're in a good spot right now, and one of the fears was that the volunteerism starts to fade, and it may happen, it may not, but I'm looking at the rest of the fire service. That's kind of that's been the trend for a while, and we're bucking that trend. The law, of course, is to continue that. We have excellent participation now. I mean, we have people in the station on a regular. There's people returning for calls. It's really good. Will it last? It's hard to say. I mean, life happens for different people and things come up, but we'd like to be able to at least maintain, if not build. Building on it would be best, but
Well, the easy part's building and maintaining is the hard part.
right. So you continually try to build on what you have and then maintain that group and keep going that direction. But it's a very tall order.
I saw Chief Snyder with Sandy yesterday. He's down to 20 volunteers.
I believe it.
Yeah.
My previous employer is down to 5. That's a big district.
And we've got a really good thing going. That's what we're doing, and having somebody wrap around that would probably help that further. Keep that maintained.
It does take a team effort, and you gotta make sure that the volunteers are separated for career it's gotta be treated like a team, everybody's involved, engaged. And everybody's equal and counted fairly. See, Jen, I thank you for this report. I thank you for bringing up a couple of these weaknesses that we gotta work on. So I really appreciate that. So,
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
You guys are doing a great job.
yes.
All right, so now in the spirit of having a combined house, have Ben Rolacek from the labor side. He's actually on Zoom, and we had to try to figure out how to make him a co-host so he can present what he's got to present. I think we got it, so.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi, Ben.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
And
If anybody like John starts to fall asleep, just know that there's a pancake feed and a Happy Valley tomorrow. I'm sure you.
Well, now we know where John McAdoo's gonna be.
I'll let you decide if I'm joking or not. What I'm going to do right now is got a PowerPoint presentation for you. I'm going to share my screen so you can see that. And I assume you can see a PowerPoint there?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So what I was tasked with was giving you guys an update of our accomplishments and just an overview of our shop as a whole. So a quick overview of our shop. We have 3 shifts, each working a 48-96 schedule with 3 paid staff per shift. On A shift, you have 2 paramedics, one brand new paramedic, James Heverly, who was just hired with us this week. I believe he's sitting behind Director Oliver there. James wants to stand up and say hi. That would be nice. And since he expected that opening, I know he's pumped. A shift is led by myself, and then also with us is firefighter EMT Tyler Troutman. B shift is comprised of Lieutenant Paramedic Jesse Matheny, firefighter paramedic Brendan McKenzie, and firefighter EMT Nathan Shavrick. C shift has Lieutenant Paramedic Hadid, firefighter paramedic Jaden Brown, and firefighter EMT Intermediate Christian Corper. For any of you on the board who aren't familiar with the difference between an EMT and an EMT Intermediate, basically boils down to scope of practice. So Christian's abilities include some cardiac drugs, as well as the ability to start IVs and a couple of advanced airways, whereas the EMT is limited to the ability to basically loosely diagnose in the field, but also does provide CPR, things of that nature. So I want to be able to give you guys the opportunity to know a little bit more about what it is your career staff are actually doing. So I broke this down into our three shifts, so A, B, and C. Then I wanted to go over some of our major responsibilities as far as some of the accomplishments that we've also done in 2022. So luckily for A shift, we were given logistics, which sounded fairly simple at the beginning and turned out to not be so much, given some of the things that we have going on. We also have that run by myself and firefighter Troutman. Firefighter Troutman is also running our field training officer program, our FTO program, as well as when he's not doing that, he's working on developing our firefighter bailout program. Now you can see my notes. That's great. How about that? So keep you guys a bated breath here. So
Yeah, much better. You can see it a lot better.
there you go. So after the restart, staff began the process of inventorying and prioritizing purchases. These included PPE, firefighting equipment, were identified as immediate necessities, including turnouts, boots, helmets, gloves, firefighting hoods, wildland firefighting equipment, and PPE, thermal imaging cameras, poor gas monitors, and firefighting hose. Some of the highlighted capital purchases from 2022 that logistics oversaw were we oversaw the bid process and purchase of $93,000 of wildland PPE and equipment. We oversaw the bid process and purchase of four new 4-gas monitors and calibration equipment, which totaled $10,114. We also saw the bid process and purchase of $85,000 in new SCBA and masks, $18,000 in thermal imaging cameras, 15,600 in additional wildland PPE, and 3,100 in firefighting tools. Logistics also received and inventoried approximately $60,000 in new turnouts for all of our district staff in 2022. The Field Training Officer Program, which is overseen by Firefighter Troutman, is an integral component of a public safety agency. Individuals that are selected for this title of FTO have typically demonstrated exceptional teaching and coaching abilities in a or a variety of areas and are tasked with training and evaluating new employees. Firefighter Troutman was selected for this title and to assist with the pilot FTO program for the district. His work with this program includes the development of grading and testing criteria, as well as task-based evaluation criteria for new hires. So James will be getting essentially our pilot program of the FTO program, which Tyler was actually able to work a little bit with Jim Purcell on during her time as a seasonal firefighter. Tyler was also tasked with implementing our firefighter bailout program. This was done in late 2022. If you're unfamiliar with that, firefighter bailout program is essentially a specialized harness and rope system that's attached to a firefighter's turnout bottoms, and it's used to rapidly exit a structure in extreme fire behavior circumstances. This is typically done as a last resort life safety method. Obviously, the amount of training and time it takes to train an individual is intense. So in 2022, Firefighter Troutman was able to complete initial training, classroom training with district firefighters, as well as completing didactic and hands-on training with 20 of our district's firefighters, including 8 out of the 9 career staff. The 9th will be Firefighter Heberly, and he'll get his training here in the next couple of weeks. Finally, Firefighter Troutman was able to oversee the bid process and purchase of another $9,000 in updated new bailout gear to ensure that all of our district firefighters are able to be outfitted with that harness. Moving on to B Shift. B Shift is responsible for the training that comes through our districts. Lieutenant Matheny and Firefighter McKenzie oversee the overwhelming majority of that. Our newly developed Swiftwater Rescue Team is overseen by Lieutenant Matheny, as well as rope rescue training. We also have a public outreach and prevention street sign program, which is overseen by Firefighter Shattuck. In 2022, career staff received 48 certifications from the Oregon Department of Public Safety Standards and Training, DPSST. These included certifications in various fire-related disciplines, including wildland fire, technical rescue, and officer development. Under the guidance and planning of Lieutenant Matheny, staff had conducted live fire trainings for district staff, including volunteer recruitment academies and drills, U.S. Forest Service employees, and community members. Lieutenant Matheny also oversaw the training for the district's 2 seasonal employees, which constituted 40 hours of initial training prior to those employees being placed on the line. Assisting Lieutenant Matheny in development and teaching of testing curriculum is Firefighter McKenzie. He's been instrumental in developing the EMS lead program and associated testing with that. This program is designed to acclimate new EMS providers, both career and volunteer, with their new license and county EMS protocols. In 2022, the district was awarded $32,160 from a local construction company in the Faraday Dam project. Lieutenant Matheny oversaw the bid process and purchase of technical rescue equipment, including rescue tripod, rapid deployment watercraft, cold water dry suits, additional rescue PPE, and litter baskets. As a result of that grant, the district was able to train 11 new rope rescuers, 6 of whom are career staff, and 9 Swiftwater rescue technicians, 4 of whom are career staff. Each of these participants were part of a 2-week, 30-hour training and are now part of the Clackamas County Water Rescue Consortium. A positive of being part of this Water Rescue Consortium is not only an enhanced capability within our response district, but also a tool for rebuilding relationships with county emergency services, considering we are a relatively new district now. In late 2021, Firefighter Shattuck was placed as the coordinator of the district street sign program. The purpose of that program was to increase visibility of addresses for district residents. And since it's been implemented, firefighter Shadrick has been able to issue over 30 high visibility address signs to district residents. Moving on to C shift. Lieutenant Hadid oversees the emergency medical services for the district, EMS. Additionally, C shift programs include the public outreach and prevention program for chimney brushes, also overseen by Lieutenant Hadid. Firefighter Brown oversees the college student program as well as the high school student program. And Christian Corper is overseeing the development of our peer support program. So with EMS acts as a liaison for the district and the district supervising position. They were able to purchase 4 LifePak 15s, which are the cardiac monitor defibrillators that we carry on our apparatus. 1 Lucas cardiopulmonary resuscitation device. Lieutenant Hadid was successful in writing a grant through the Volunteer Fire Assistance. So in overseeing the district's EMS program, Lieutenant Hadid, again, is liaison for the district to the physician advisor. His job is to provide feedback on county EMS protocols and work with the doctor on quality improvement for our service delivery, not just for career, but also for our volunteers with EMS licensure. Using the American Rescue Plan Act's funds, Lieutenant Hadid was able to oversee the bid process and purchase of those cardiac monitors and the Lucas device. Those monitors were used to replace existing cardiac monitors, and we're actually, through that fund, able to add 1 more cardiac monitor to our response capabilities, which gave us a total of 4. The total for that grant was just under $96,000. The VFA grant that he applied for totaled $5,000, and that's included the purchase of fire web gear, wildland fire web gear, fire shelters, and fire training shelters. The college student program overseen by Firefighter Brown was reinstituted in 2021. Some highlights of that, 3 of our students that have been through that program in that short 18-month period have been hired as career firefighters, and 1 as a paramedic by a private ambulance company. To have 4 of our students come in that short of a period of time and go on to be successful in this line of work is actually something to really hang our hats on. And as a group should be fairly proud of ourselves. Currently, staff are assisting with the training and mentorship of 5 student firefighters, 1 of whom is in paramedic school right now as well. The high school student program is also overseen by Firefighter Brown and was started in 2022 as a method of early recruitment into the fire service and with Estacada Fire proper. In 2022, Firefighter Corper was sent to an IAFF, which is the International Association of Firefighters Peer Support Course by Local 1159, which is, again, the local that we are represented by as career staff. This was done at no cost to the district. And during this training, Christian was taught by licensed professionals how to identify and counsel not only firefighters, but any public safety worker following a traumatic incident or just those simply in need of assistance, not only locally, but nationally as well. After being trained, Christian was made part of the local 1159 peer support team, which can be activated and deployed throughout the county to assist departments in need of this resource. As a local, we consider this to be an invaluable resource, not only to our district personnel, but also to the county as a whole. Christian's training will be ongoing and is also sponsored by the local at no cost to the district. Additionally, Firefighter Corporal will be working in 2023 to train additional district staff to be able to act as peer support providers. A few special projects and upcoming accomplishments. Myself, Lieutenant Matheny, and Firefighter Corporal assisted in the spec process for the district's new Type 3 and Type 6 apparatus. We were able to put on a firefighter paramedic hiring process. In 2022, Firefighter Shadrick completed his education to become an Oregon paramedic. He'll be completing his associate's degree this year in 2023 and will hopefully become Firefighter Paramedic Shadrick and give B Shift 3 paramedics within the next 60 to 90 days. I can see his mustache back there, so if you want to high five him after this, that'd be great. In May of 2023, firefighter corporal will begin his education to become an Oregon paramedic with completion and licensure accomplished hopefully in early 2024. That will give C Shift a total of 3 paramedics. And I believe that is a huge benefit to our district as a whole. So I want to also take the opportunity to give you guys a little bit of a rundown on the 1159 structure. So we are comprised of 6 total shops representing 340 members. That fluctuates a little bit here and there, but we tend to maintain right in that 340. We're run by 4 principal officers. Our president is Mark Corliss. Our vice president is Mark Oschlager. Secretary is Nate Hahn, and the treasurer is myself. Shop stewards, with the exception of District 1, there's 1 elected shop steward per shop. District 1, because of their size, they have 5. All of their shops have 1. And along with that, I took the position of treasurer, which meant I'm technically pulling double duty right now. So by the end of June of this year, Christian Corper will be taking over the steward job for me, which will give this particular unit 2 officers on the executive board, which is something that I am particularly proud of. I wanted to highlight some labor management accomplishments in 2022. During 2022, Chief O'Connor and I were able to work through 4 memorandums of agreement. What memorandums of agreement are basically supplementation of our contract, whether it's because there's no language to identify something that's happened within the contract that we need to work in the workforce itself, or if it's something in addition that could create a labor issue. So with those, we were able to come up with 4 MOAs for acting in capacity firefighters, seasonal firefighters, our FTO compensation plan and tuition reimbursement. The next part that I'm again particularly proud of is the reinforced stability of our labor management relationship. I think stability within the shop is a representation of management and the trust of the board and the chief. Those relationships are typically built on an equitable conversation and positive experience. As a whole, I don't think there's any secret that Estacada was probably going to be a question mark coming into July 2021. And within 16 months, as a labor management group, we've developed a reputation. I'm again phenomenally proud of the fact that we are probably the most boring shop in the entire local because of the relationship that we have and it being as positive as it is. We're known for being well run. We're known for being, again, incredibly boring. So I think that is a testament to the support that we have from the chief, as well as your trust in the chief and his ability to communicate with the local as a whole. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you very much, Ben. Great report.
You know, it was okay. I worked really, really hard on it for, a little while.
Yeah. Good job.
Thanks
So
again.
if you don't have any questions, I will take myself off here.
Any questions, anybody?
Am I still an honorary member?
I know a guy and I could probably check that out.
All you gotta do is buy him dinner and he'll do whatever you want.
Well, I heard if I take him to a free pancake breakfast, he's good to go. So
That's it.
You're in, that's the shoe in.
Which is coming up Saturday at the Springwater Grange.
All right, thanks, Ben. Appreciate
no
it.
problem.
Thank you.
Okay,
District Finance.
District Finance.
I think he's gonna give us an update on our mid-year budget position and projection.
Yeah, so in front of you, you will have, and if anybody else would like a copy, there's more. Our mid-year budget overview. So what I did is take this fiscal year so far, which is July through December, and I compared it to last fiscal year as a whole. And then gave you the percent that we are at. compared to last year as a whole. And this year as a half. I also included any projected, in the top case revenue and in the bottom for our expenses, and then any percentage difference from last year's whole over this year's projected. Which is a lot in one table. So I decided to start including our revenue as a portion to show you, and it will be in the monthly board packet as well. I think it's important for you to see where we're at as far as our income and how we're being sustainable as a district. If you can see that half of our year is at 99% of our full fiscal year last year. And we still have another 6 months of collecting taxes into our LGIP account. So we should be well above what we anticipated. Expenses, on the other hand, are much higher. But that is to be expected. If you look, some of the things that were in our personnel services weren't tracked last year, and it wasn't something that I could create tracking for until this budget year. So like our consideration pay, that was tracked in overtime. I separated it out individually for board reports, but it wasn't actually tracked overall. The PEP account and the bird comp match, those weren't added in until this fiscal year. Materials and services. There is quite a bit of an increase, but that should equal out by next budget year. As we're continuing to grow. After this fiscal year, a lot of our major purchases, as far as like PPE and uniforms, will start to even out, and it will be maintaining opposed to purchasing. So those are some of our big expenses. The other giant expense from this fiscal year is paying off Clackamas. We don't have to do that anymore. Clackamas has been paid and we're good. So that was one of the, $500,000 that we had to spend. $250,000.
Yeah.
$250,000.
Even out.
Difference there too.
Should have been around 230 or something, wasn't it?
Well, minus the back charge.
Yeah.
Payment, then took back from them.
Either way, that's no more.
And then on the back page, you'll see our capital outlay. It was tracked differently last year. We started tracking it as like separate items this year. So you'll see that it's 100% different in the negative on the top row, because I wanted to separate out what we're actually purchasing into actual items opposed to a lump sum amount. Some items we're not purchasing this year, so there's a difference. Some items we're purchasing a lot of this year that we didn't purchase last year, so that explains that difference as well. And then to our grants, two of our grants have been 100% expended. We're looking very close to being done with our ARPA grant. I just submitted a quarterly report for them, and it shows us at 98% expended. So we're waiting for a few outstanding invoices to come in. And then it'll be 100% expended. And then same with the WUI grant, waiting for those last invoices and large purchases to come through before we can expend the funds.
Chief, where's these the total amounts of each grant in this line, projected expense? Is that what it means?
That's not the total amount there.
Okay.
I do have the total amount.
Yeah, because the WUI grant was like 1.4, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is how much we're projected to expend this year.
Okay.
So how much we budgeted to spend.
And obviously the WUI is the big one because we have 3 large items that are being built.
Right.
Yeah.
That didn't get invoiced for last year.
Right.
So we ordered them, but we haven't been able to pay for them yet.
You're not gonna pay for it again.
Well, we put some. Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah. You should be getting those. over the next several months.
Yeah, we have to. We have to extend that money before July 1, so we've got to take delivery, which we did have some pictures of the Type 3, and there's a chassis, there's a box, it's being put together.
We're gonna make it that date.
We gotta make that date.
And they know it, don't they, the manufacturers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're getting hassled on a regular about making sure that we make our deadline.
good.
That's a big deal.
Do they care?
They better care.
I know,
Better make them care.
Question is there any other apparatus we can put in front of ours?
Well, they're well aware of where our position and what we're up against.
because now they seem nervous. Because we were supposed to get one
October, wasn't it? Yeah.
October,
Yeah.
September, October.
and now we're
Yeah.
in January.
Part of that had to do with a problem at their plant where they ended up with a big freeze or something and broken pipes and a bunch of facility issues that shut them down for a month.
We had that with that engine, what we hired from back in Georgia or somewhere back there. And when they delivered it, it had a lot of issues on it.
Was that that water tender
Yeah,
in that deep south company or something?
yeah,
Yeah, that thing with a piece of crap.
they ended up putting it out too fast. And we just got our check back and they come picked it up on a low board into the back. I'm glad I have written in that contract. That if it wasn't up to standards, we didn't have to take it.
Right. Yeah.
And they never argued, they sent a low boy out and come back with a check.
It was a joke.
That's what happened there, they ended up, something broke down.
Yeah.
6 or 8 weeks behind, they rushed it through, I think what happened. Anyhow, that's not bad, I would be done.
Questions for finance officer?
It looks pretty clear, thank you.
Yeah. I think it sounds like we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, financially, we're in a very good spot.
Yes.
Very good.
Seems like we're in a pretty good spot. in quite a few areas.
We're in a very good spot.
All right.
Next, so, yeah, work plan, so, I ask our staff to, submit their work plan, what they're hoping to accomplish in the next year, and it's not a fiscal year, but, a calendar year, which does carry over into the next, budget year. And, we've made a lot of progress, obviously, in the last 18 months, which is huge, especially for a small department like we have and, where we were at, so. As we move forward, we still have a few capital purchases yet to be made. I think we probably completed 50% of our overall capital, which was about 369,000 altogether. We'll have a little bit of savings out of that, where we got like an AFG grant for fitness equipment. We have a couple of other items. I think we're going to probably hold off on our fingerprint machine, not do that just yet. But we'll see what happens. So there's a few things there that we'll carry over, but we still need to purchase another staff vehicle for the fire marshal. We're still waiting on delivery of our forcible entry door prop. We still got to get our vertical ventilation prop built. Our George Station generator is in the works. We're doing additional AEDs so that staff vehicles and apparatus that don't have an AED on them will have it. We cut our purchase of SCBA's in half from 10 to 5. To be some savings there. We need to get turnout lockers in the station still. We're using the little cubbies and those are overflowing and they're awfully small anyways. And we will actually have an added capital project there. We need to replumb the freshwater pipe in the George stations and George Youngberg is working on that, or Dick Youngberg working on getting us estimates for that project. But we're looking at probably about $6,000 for that. So not a terribly big job. Anticipated capital purchases for the next year. I think we're probably going to have about half as much capital spending as we did this year. We need to update some of our workstations with new computers. We need a gas detector for investigation. We're looking to buy a Sparky suit that somebody can run around, be Sparky, and have a good time with that. We need to replace some MDCs. We need to improve the crosslay compartment on engine 331, which requires configuration of the compartment and requires some structural work. So that'll probably be a little bigger project. I don't really have a good number for that yet, but it was basically designed for 1.5 inch hose, and we're using 1 3/4 inch. It doesn't fit so well and it creates a couple of problems. So
Which rig is that?
that is our first album.
Okay. Appears,
Yes.
that's the one that, you know, pull the thing out and load it.
Yeah, they've all got the trays we can take out, but yeah, that one's just a little tight.
So that's the black plastic. Then
That's part of it, yeah.
part of it, yeah, it needs to be bigger, but you need to make the compartment bigger
Right.
to do it, yeah.
Not a lot, but just enough.
Yeah.
You looking for a project?
I don't know. Gotta stick a magnet to it before I'll do it, probably aluminum.
Yeah, I think it's gonna work for you then.
They gotta work for you.
We looking to increase our vehicle extrication capacity, update some of our equipment that's starting to age. I'd like to see us get at least a combi tool on the engine that sits up at the yard station. Currently, there's none there. Things like that. So we're still researching those projects and how much we need to purchase there, but there will be some capital there. May look to replace the duty officer vehicle since we're in a good spot financially to be able to do that. Might be a good time.
So I have a little bit of issue there. I was sold all these upgrades to those two rigs, was gonna extend them another 6 years, and I'm seeing replacement of 2023 and 2024. So that 6 years,
6 years was not my number. It would have been less than that.
okay.
But yeah,
That's
that
what we
was,
were told.
that was the
Yeah,
intent
it
was
what
to
we were told.
increase that. And that's why I say.
The problem I have is that one, we spent basically $4,500 in a wrap and we only used it a year and 3 months, or maybe even just 2 years. I mean.
We're not
advertising-
looking to get rid of it. It would stay here.
Okay,
It's-
okay.
It's, it would move on down the line is what it comes down
All
to.
right.
And again, we don't have to do it, but
Yeah.
financially where we're in position, it might be good time to do it. It's a capital expense, but it's not a huge capital expense
Yeah.
either. But that's down the road, and if we don't want to do that, we don't have to, but it's just on the radar. Then a hydrant maintenance program is what I'm looking at for this next summer. When we had the seasonals on, we had them go out and inventory and flush our hydrants. We're currently putting those numbers into ESO, so we actually have a hydrant tracking program. A lot of our hydrants don't have the storage adapters on them, so we'd be looking to purchase those adapters and then have those fitted. And then probably this next summer, do the same thing, do a seasonal program. Have the hydrants painted and continue to clean up, flush, test, and keep on track with that.
So is the fire department responsible for that or the city?
The city is responsible to maintain their water system, but not necessarily maintain the hydrant.
All new hydrants are required to have that storage put on it.
Anything new coming in will
Yeah.
have the stores, but they aren't required to update beyond that.
But that's, new ones come in there, the contractor.
Yeah, whoever builds the road,
Right.
like when I
So-
did, I had to put that on, yeah.
Right, but so the older ones were responsible for putting that storage on?
Yeah, the city's not gonna do it for us.
Yeah.
We would have to do that. If they had a new construction come in and we required it, we could require a new hydrant, or we could require that adapter, but
The city doesn't want it, they don't think it's their deal.
it's not their, yeah, and they're not going to, it's just not on their to-do list, so.
They're
It's
not,
for us,
they're not the ones that put them in, so.
it's for
they
us
don't
to
do it.
use, it's
Yeah.
not for anybody else. so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those odd spots. It's, the water system's owned by the water department for the city in this case. But we're responsible for the hydrant, even though it's technically not ours. It's just a weird
Yeah.
gray area.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean, if we bought, it's kind of a guesstimate on at this point, till we get all our numbers together, but $35,000 on hydrants next year would probably take care of it. A one-time deal. And because it's new hydrants go in, they get the stores fitting and all the updates, so, okay. But again, this is looking down the road is what I'm looking at for anticipated capital items in the next year, which equals out to 169,000. About half as much as what it was last.
We need to know what kind of shape they're in, and we need to make sure they're working.
Right. In the world of grants, there's always grants, but FEMA always has SAFER and AFG out there. We'll continue to pursue the recruitment and retention coordinator, look at pursuing grants for firefighters. We'll look at the AFG grant for added hose, extrication equipment, and PPE. Basically what we did last year for those, we'll resubmit this year and see what happens. We need to complete our WUI and our ARPA grants prior to July 1st. We talked a little bit about that. We will continue to pursue the smoke alarm campaign through the state fire marshal's office. We talked, I think, Lieutenant Rolachek talked a little bit about that and how if we had bilingual firefighters out there, which was a huge help to make some of that happen. And then keep looking for other grant opportunities. They keep adding grant funded equipment. They're out there. We just gotta go look for them and pursue it. Looking at a training chief / recruitment retention coordinator position. This district desperately needs its own training chief, a dedicated training officer. I'm big on that. But I've also spent most of my career in training, so I'm a little partial to it. But I don't have any exact numbers of what that would look like just yet, but more to come. We've started our surplus equipment program with Gov Deals, which is the online auctions. So a lot of the extra stuff that's stashed away in the Conex containers out there, such as the old stove that used to be in the kitchen, will go up on that site, and we can start sending that stuff down the road, collecting a little bit of revenue for it. We'll start getting our probationary volunteers that are completing their 1 year into the LoSAP program. We are looking to convert to a 2-digit numbering system for all district apparatus come about July 1st. And that's probably going to be a North County thing. But it's coming down the road. We would no longer be a 331, it'd be just 31. It was something simpler. Gonna be weird.
This is the second time it's changed since I've been here.
Well, yeah, me too. Yeah.
Looking to get the EF recovery program finalized, get our staff trained in it so we can implement that, and we can start our cost recovery for the out of district people that are getting car wrecks and out here on the river and calling for our services. We also are looking to implement an operative IQ program for EMS inventory, narcotics tracking, and apparatus equipment checks. That's a big one on our radar to do, but like everything else, we're waiting for hardware. Once the hardware gets here, then we can get that rolling, but it's backlogged like most things. Need to complete our hydro test for all SCBA bottles. Anything 2017 and older, I believe, is going to be due here pretty quick. That will also follow with our hose ladder and pump tests that will be due here before the end of the fiscal year. We need to complete our vehicle parking and parking area fencing program. We did receive a little bit of grant money from SDAO towards that project. Getting that done before July 1st might be a challenge. So see if we can make it.
So I heard you want to fences right all the way to the curb, all the way to the sidewalk.
Right. Couple vehicle break-ins. Yeah, we've got to do something to prevent it. I mean, if somebody really wants to do it, they're going to do it, but you gotta have it.
How are we gonna enter for the parking there? Will there be a gate you can slide over?
I think we have 4 or 5 gates. One of them would have a pressure sensor. The rest of you have to get out manually.
Okay,
Pressure sensors are the expensive part of the project. I think the first estimate we got back was crazy big, but that's because they had quoted with pressure sensors for all the gates.
Oh, okay.
And so it came back to like 6 figures or something like that. We don't need that much. That's one's good, the rest we can manually do.
Does anybody drawing a plan of it?
Somewhere around here. It is on paper somewhere.
I'd like to see something, see what that looks like.
now that fence, is it gonna come clear up to the back of the fire station? or-
Right.
Okay,
We have to be careful to stay out of the alley because the city has the right of way through the
that's
alley.
right.
So yeah, how that came together, it's basically corner to corner and then again back here, corner building around and wrap that up. In the world of training, keep moving towards more specialized EMS training, start looking at physicians and nurses that come out and do some of the specialized stuff for us with pediatrics and burns, that sort of thing. We're continuing with the Volunteer Firefighter Academy that starts this Saturday, and basically goes for a full year, separated into different pieces of firefighter 1, emergency driver, emergency medical responder, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to continue to provide additional training for wildland firefighter certifications and training advancements. We'll do an NFPA pumper operator academy. And then we want to continue to improve on our Tuesday night training where we have more hands-on, less sitting in the class, but actually more getting out, pulling hose, doing those hands-on skills. In the world of prevention, we're implementing a fire company inspection program. We've had some training going on for that with a whole lot of our people. We need to develop a common hazard violation worksheet for the fire companies to use when they're out on those inspections. We're implementing compliance engine software for inspection tracking and fees, and that is what they call a cost share program, which means that when inspections are due, there's a fee that's charged through compliance engine, and a piece of that fee comes back to us. Develop, sorry, going backwards. Want to continue to build our relationships with the city and county governments. So kind of a continual project, but keep working towards that. Pursue wildfire hazard mitigation funding and implement a program to include hazard mitigation coordinator and target the following areas for fuel reduction: George, Viola, Dodge, Frog Pond, Tumala, Springwater North and South, and Tracy. And then we'll continue to do our annual fire department open house in October. And then we'll continue to look for additional community events. I'm going to talk a little bit about our grant expenditures, but I think we kind of did that in our finance report, which is good, but you have the paperwork in front of you that showed you where we were for this year in the carryover of those grants, and we're trying to tie those up and get those completed before July 1. You also have a capital improvement plan, which I believe this is what we put together last year. Included with that is the insurance rates and the premiums that we're currently paying for each one of those apparatus. I know Director McAdoo loves to see that one, so that's there for his benefit. But you have the apparatus replacement, which shows you our bigger equipment, life expectancy, replacement year, the original cost. Except donation, ignore that. It's supposed to be original cost. And then anticipated replacement cost. And a little bit of that is just looking into the crystal ball, because I don't know how much it's going to cost for a new Type 1 in another 5 to 10 years. The second page has some of our other capital items, our 4 gas monitors, Lucas CPR device, cardiac monitors, SCBA compressor, thermal imagers. A lot of this stuff was bought with grants, is current. It's not going to be due for replacement for some time. But some of the smaller equipment like MDCs, desktop workstations, those are the types of things I want to start spacing out when we only do so many per year instead of trying to do them all at once. And then it's not such a hard pill to swallow.
This 1999 water center, it's not a huge. That's the one up in Jordan, right?
International. Yeah, I think that's a typo.
Okay. I could think of Pearson going 1999. They never bought a Pearson until
You didn't know.
2010.
Oh, I was going down this list, Chief. It's popped out on me, the 2014 Ford Explorer. We haven't got that door lock replaced yet.
Correct.
Yeah,
Parts.
well, could we give that to a local body shop here, Estigata Body, or there's a good body shop on Highland Road, and just let them run with it?
The guy that's driving it would love to have that fixed yesterday. So yeah, he's working on it. I mean, that's all I can tell you at this point. It's small potatoes for me, so I really don't follow along.
Mind if I make a couple phone calls?
Go right ahead.
Okay,
If it's a parts issue, it's a parts issue. Can't get it.
well, I can't believe that 4 or 5 months and we can't get that part, so.
I can't believe it's been a year and we're still waiting on
Yeah.
heavy equipment, so.
Yeah.
But that's just the world we've been stuck in for whatever reason. I never thought I'd see the day where the fire district, we sit here and we have money to spend, and we can't spend it.
Yeah,
I've never run into that, and here we are. It's been, since I came here, it's been a problem. Nobody's doing it. It's just, it is what it is, so.
Yeah. You start a fire department, you can't get turnouts for your fire department.
Right.
That makes no sense.
It's everywhere.
Everywhere.
I've had my 4-wheeler mounted flares for almost a year.
Really? That makes no sense. You can't play.
Just pay the bill and pick it up.
yeah, I'll call that Accurate Auto Body down there in Highland Road. That guy, he's pretty good, so. I'll just make a phone call and see what happens.
Questions on the work plan? Work plan's always changing, but that's what we're looking at now.
Well, I like the fact that we have a plan.
You
That's
said
an
something
improvement,
about, You said something about an insurance sheet, chief.
Yeah. Did you not?
I don't have.
Okay. Pass that down to him. Maybe I didn't give it to you. Oh, I did.
Oh, yeah. There you go. I don't know. Yeah, we only have that one.
Anybody want a copy of it?
We can throw it in a couple.
I can send it to you if you want. Anyway.
Yeah, we're sending it that way, less paper.
Either way,
He's copying
Have
right
the
now.
electronic one.
either way.
He's copying right now.
Move on.
Move on. Yeah. Director of budget goals.
Fire station.
Pardon me?
Fire station.
Oh, the fire station. No, I already crossed it off. No, I'm talking about the fire station. I'm going, skipping over. We talked about fire station, yeah.
Would that be in working with our strategic plan that we're putting together?
I think so.
Yeah,
It should be a big topic in there.
absolutely. It has to be number one,
I think so, yeah.
1, 2, or 3.
Director day. Oh,
Moment. We probably could have taken 5 minutes. Yeah.
What do you think it's gonna cost to insure this new 3 rigs we have coming?
We're basing it off of what we already have. You can look at the easy ones like brush rate costs us 195 and 211. It's probably gonna duplicate that.
Yeah, but the purchase price is gonna be quite a bit higher than what this purchase price, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's still based, it's evaluation, so.
Okay.
The type 3 is a little more of an unknown to me because it's not quite what, like engine 331 would
Yeah,
be.
yeah.
But if I had to guess, it's probably gonna be close to 2,000 a year. And then the tender, same thing. You can look at the other ones, and it's
Yeah.
probably gonna be awful close to that. What, 3,000, 3,500 more a year? So the fire station would be our next is our next big topic. We've talked about that at a few different meetings and how we want to try to move forward. And I kind of feel like we have 5 different opinions on the board of how we want to proceed or how we should proceed with that. And my opinion on it, the best way to move forward is obviously it'll be a strategic plan item, what Director McAdoo says, but I think our best bet is to form a subcommittee that consists of 2 members of the board, 2 members from the career side, 2 members from the volunteer side. I could facilitate that subcommittee, and they would come up with a recommendation to bring back to the board in an effort to move forward. It's really difficult for me to pursue any kind of funding because I don't know what we want. What kind of building we're looking at, where it's going to be, if it's something we continue to build on with this station or what that is. So I'm chasing shadows as far as grant funding, potential financing and that kind of thing. So I just don't know where to go because I don't have a dollar amount or even a kind of a guesstimate either.
It's like eating an elephant one bite at a time. It's just trying to figure out where that first bite is.
Right.
You know, what step is the first step?
So that's where I feel like a subcommittee
Is
is a
it
good idea.
funding? Is it the, you almost need some sort of plan to be able to get a cost.
Sure.
Take the side of it out, come up with what you want. Just figure we're gonna put it somewhere, but at least you got something that you can, run some job costing on. But like if you were to build here, the way this land is, it's gonna have to be a different design than if you had 4 acres and just popped in a 4-acre square. So that's the issue. It's almost like you need more than one design, one for here and one for somewhere else. So anyway.
I feel like my direction on this is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different directions. And so
What I would, I talked to you about Mike Platts. you know, he's more than capable of doing a design. Um. You know, if we had a design, at least that's something. You know, we've talked about it a lot. It's just like I said, that first bite, where do we take that first bite to get that done? And. You gotta start somewhere, and I think some sort of design for the new equipment we're getting, the equipment that we already have. You know, what, and we know that admin and sleeping quarters are an issue. Trying to define how many beds we need. How big of admin offices do we want? Trying to define that, I think you gotta start somewhere, and I think that's kind of the place to start.
Is any of our old plans available? That last plan we
Right.
did?
Yeah, he emailed it out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
I never did.
You got it. Emailed them to everybody, and I just found.
Yeah.
Have the hard copy here too.
yeah.
I'll go back and check, but I
Yeah.
didn't see it on my email.
I like your idea of doing a committee.
I think.
Yeah,
Just
Yeah,
like
committee
get
for
your
the-
bullet.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all of us on the boards, because we could always make recommendations.
And that's why I say if there was,
You can't get to too.
I think there's plenty of talent know-how right here. Because you guys have lived in that world. You, Director McAdoo, you probably built a station before, I thinking, but so, I mean, it's there, right? So I think the know-how is definitely here. It's just what is that? And so that's why I come up with, let's do a subcommittee. 2, 2, and 2, and we'll go from there.
That last building plan, they had that federal building, it was the most sensible one.
Is
The
that
one before that,
Across the road here,
yeah,
it was gonna be here and it was gonna take over the street,
yeah.
Yeah.
That one was the most practical. The one before that was completely ridiculous. It overwhelmed the city. It just,
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah.
I heard a lot of people saying that, and that's what it was.
you bet, it was just,
To be conservative.
Yeah.
And I kind of think. Kind of disagree with Miller with. Get what you want and then figure out where to put it. I think we kind of established we had the land here. Calls are all coming here from our prior meetings. We know we have the land. Let's build something that's here.
The only issue I have with that is seeing what's going on north. Terry Emmerich and the city are in bed together to site the new sewage treatment plant. Terry not only bought Eagle Creek Golf Course, 680 acres, but he also bought that other piece on the south side of Folsom also. So he's got probably pretty close to 800 acres down
I
there.
heard the golf course didn't go through.
None of that's.
Oh, no.
That's none of that.
he was supposed to take it over January 1. I don't know.
Well, that's where the city's pushing and they
That's what
continue
we
to
like.
annex that way. So. I don't know, what it is, that 20-year number, you know, is this gonna be the right location in 20 years? You invest that much in a station, we need to make sure that it's in the right spot. That's my only deal. I don't plan on being here in 20 years, but I still want it to be in the right spot.
I'd be lucky if I were.
You know, and I guess that committee, we could define that also.
Well, yeah, that would be part of the committee.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just,
I mean, everything we have right now, all the data is, it's here, you know, I mean, we've spent a lot of time on that and, we now have, that in our. Some of our reporting software is showing it, I mean, it's here, but yeah, down the road, what's it gonna look like in 20 years?
Yeah.
You know, we can guess, or we
Yeah.
can throw some darts, but,
Yeah. I think that, I think for the, you know, we gotta. If all the data we looked at shows to have a station here. Knowing that north is gonna grow, then you'd have a substation out there.
So,
That's what I agree with. Yeah.
in looking through that whole merger thing, they had response times. So what is the response time to our north end of our district, say down toward Frog Pond, Folsom, Dowdy?
I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I mean, I have it. but
It's
I have to
quick
look it up.
because of the highway.
Yeah, I understand.
You're out on the
that,
highway,
but-
you're down.
But we want to make sure that this can serve that within what, that 5 minutes?
It does,
Okay,
I believe it does.
Up till,
I think we're on the upper end of it.
I think so too. But if we get that kind of growth down there. And we can't service that, I mean, look what we're getting up at Deuce and all that stuff there and on the old highway, the new
Morgan
one's
Road.
going in.
Dulles,
Yeah, yeah, well, that's not gonna change in our lifetime, I don't think.
Well,
But-
we have that map that they already did with
Yeah.
last year's costs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that'll be part of that.
Consistently in the last 30-40 years, when they did those upgrades where the calls is. This station is centered right there.
yeah. But I'm looking at that kind of acreage down to the north where they're going. I would say in the next 20 years, depending on the economy, we could end up with another 2,000 homes down there.
And that's when you plan for a substation down there, probably.
Okay.
Put a couple engines or an engine and rest.
Yep.
down there.
Two base stations to serve that side of
You bet.
the district. And so like right now with where we sit, we don't, it's not just servicing here in town and to the north, but it's also the Springwater corridor, which
Yes.
it actually seems like that's getting busier.
Yeah, that seems to be a hot spot.
Right. And that is a little more difficult because of, it's not a direct shot like it is going north. There's
No,
some
you're right,
curves
you're
to it.
right.
Right, and if you put a station down there, it's gonna take you longer to get up there.
The thing is, maybe you'd be better off putting a station down there and putting a substation up there.
Mm.
Because you'd have your massive, you look at EMS at the greatest percentage. You got the greatest population, you would think that EMS percentage would somewhat track to that.
Mhm.
So. That's, I don't know, that committee, I guess, can go over that. I don't know, I always feel that 20 years from now, that growth that we're gonna have down there, maybe, like I said, a substation up on Springwater would be the one. But then the problem is, then we've got George and we've got, Garfield and everything else and Porter to cater to too. So,
So how do you go about establishing a committee and deciding who's gonna be on it?
Well, that's up to you guys as far as who from this group would be on it. So like I said, two members of this group. Look for 2 members from our career staff, look for 2 members from our volunteer staff. And that would form the committee. It'd be a committee of 6. I think that would be appropriate. Start getting too much more and you start getting too many opinions about what that should look like, but. I feel like that's the best place to start. But who on this group? It's you.
I'm okay with Paul Matthew, businessman. I'm just throwing that out there.
I agree with probably either being one of Paul and I. Paul probably has more construction experience than I do. But somebody from the board with actual fire experience, which I don't have. But definitely somebody, maybe our more experienced volunteers. Cause I don't know what goes in a firehouse. I mean, I can look at bids and estimates and costs and things like that, but.
so that one plan that we have that John, you said was the metal building one. Have you looked at it in detail as to days and admin and sleeping quarters? Would that meet our needs?
I haven't looked at it in that kind of detail, trying to project the future and just where we've been as an agency and trying to get going. I just haven't gotten that detail.
So I think what we need to do is take that plan and get some full-size drawings of it
Yeah.
made. Rather than try and look at it on a computer screen.
Well, I can print out, let me know. I can
Yeah,
do the plot.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. And we own that, right? So if we use that plan, we don't have to pay anybody for that or anything like that.
Probably.
We should have paid for it, so.
Yes, we should.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
probably McKinsey, the value of it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's strings attached to that type of stuff.
We could be getting a little bit of a little ahead of ourselves. We're trying to do a strategic plan and do a station and what those future needs would be. I think we're on the right track to get started, but those sorts of questions of how much apparatus space do we need, office space, things like that. That might be something we want to consider.
Well, and see, that's the
Slow it
thing,
up.
we don't want to short ourselves. If we were to pull off a new station. And with the growth that I see in the next 20 years to the north, I'm not sure that we could pull off a substation in 10-15 years. So we need to make sure that this new station would fit the need without a substation to the north there. To have that insurance policy, in my opinion, or the ability to add on days if, need be. So.
I think when you get to the point where you're looking at adding on bays, you're probably where you need to be looking at a substation as opposed to an addition, but.
Yeah.
But those
But we
are,
may not have the dollars for that, is what I'm getting at.
yeah, it's hard to say, I mean, there's different ways to look at it. If you have that kind of growth that you need the substation, then you should have the revenue coming in to support it too. And so
The
there's.
only thing is that housing doesn't provide as nearly as good a revenue as
Yes,
the
it does.
industrial.
Yes and no, because the industrial is limited by the economy, so a good economy is bringing in better industrial money versus when it's not, then it goes the other direction.
Yeah, but even if,
Housing stays consistent even when the recession hits.
Yeah,
Even the banks have to pay the taxes, right?
yeah, but I mean, the taxes still have to be paid on the industrial too. I mean.
Right, right.
Just, yeah, so.
You need we need a big supermarket coming in here to help pay for a lot of stuff. Cause they'll pay big dollars.
Yeah,
So they
I
usually
think
get a
those-
tax exemption for the first 15 years or something.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and I would think that somebody's gotta be looking here because of all the growth that we've been getting. So, I mean, somebody like Safeway or somebody,
well, they're all looking.
yeah,
They just haven't pulled the trigger.
is that whole population
Mhm.
density, which we've got to get.
I tell you, the city's looking at a 4-story apartment building across the street over here. The plans are underway for that.
Building apartments across from Campanella. That's
Yeah.
what I heard.
That's going in there. Everett's building over here off the highway. And St. John found out it's for apartments.
Don't go telling me that you want to get a ladder truck.
It's down the road. I mean, it's not like it's.
The problem is, I mean, you look at that kind of growth to justify that.
Turned it into the fire chief years ago.
There's a new housing development on the corner of Deuce and the old highway.
Yeah.
And from what I heard, the developer's gotta put a signal at River Mill and the old highway.
Yeah, they'll make him in the
Yeah,
transportation
river,
plan.
it's gonna be a River Mill Road and Eagle Creek High.
Yeah.
Yeah, that transportation plan.
222 lots and then 2 lots for just apartment house.
Yeah.
It's
8 plexes, 4 plexes.
growth is coming. It's coming whether we like it or not. And that's part of what I really need this group to do is be looking at that. So those 20 years down the road, I mean, that's not crazy talk by any means. It's reality. It's.
I mean,
what it is.
For me, if they're gonna invest in the millions of dollars to build the sewage treatment plant at Folsom. And Terry's bought all that land. Terry's a developer, a big time developer. He's not buying that to run his water buffalo on. You know, he's already got some buffalo down there,
So which property did he buy on Deuce?
not Deuce
Deuce, he's over.
or Folsom. So he bought all the Eagle Creek Golf Course. You know where Mike Platts lives?
Yes.
Okay, just there's one lot between Mike Platts and then he owns all that on the right, all the way to Dowdy.
Mhm. And
On the
other-
left of
on the other
Folsom.
side of Downey.
You might be.
Yeah, on the other,
you might
that's
be
the old
50
Creek Golf
years
Course.
That's so far outside their growth. And I don't know.
I don't know,
A highway, without having a highway out here, and if you talk to the commissioners,
Yeah.
talk Sappis.
Yeah.
Talk Schrader, talk to any of them. And the plans for doing a highway out here like it's. Yeah, big undertaking, long way out. Just my opinion about what I've been looking at it.
The only issue that-
Or the water sewer treatment plant going out there was to get it outside the city as to cater enormous capacity.
Yeah,
So
the only thing is though, that I know that the city's gonna annex all the way to that thing. That's gonna be like the green light for them.
maybe have somebody from the city. be on it.
No,
Who knows, who knows?
Yeah, they're-
what's
they're-
gonna happen with the road.
They got their own.
Or a committee advisor or something. like that, so
Yeah.
you can ask
we
them
need to, it gets back that junk that in, junk that out. We need to either put a pin in growth is gonna be there or not gonna be there. Is what we need to do. For our decision to where we're gonna site.
I don't know, if you can pin it down. I mean, you can.
Well,
guess at what's gonna
percentage
happen.
wise.
You can Guess at what's gonna happen, but
Yeah,
you know, you don't know what the economy's gonna do. And that's-
well, yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good idea where the economy is going in the next
Yeah,
18 months. So, but its question is for how long? I mean, they're projecting what, 2% growth for 10 years? That's not a lot of growth. For the economy.
Yeah.
And then you see what interest rates have done, and what was it? I read in Wall Street Journal at October, the month of October. New housing starts were down 10.6% in the country.
Yeah.
You know, that's not specific to any one place. I mean, that's just an average of everything. So,
And there's an undersupply,
what's that?
and there's a huge undersupply.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, but if you can't afford it, there's, you know, people can't afford it, they can't afford it. So we still have the undersupply. So anyway.
Okay, so
You don't, I guess you don't, nobody, you don't have to necessarily decide today on who, because you have a meeting in 2 weeks, so. You could, come back to the subcommittee who's by then, you guys could probably figure it out between now and then.
we will, yeah.
And we can move forward at that point.
So you want us just to think about, from a board perspective, a couple of people that would be out, right? Not from a
So
volunteer.
we need to.
Just two
I've got
board
to
members
read
found out
this.
some we'll talk about it.
Anybody wants to throw their name in the hat?
Because you're gonna
Send me an
have
email.
the firefighter aspect in there already from the line guys, so.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yeah, you know. Paul's got building construction, I've got building construction,
I got mechanical,
you know.
automobile mechanical.
Okay,
Go down a different path, though.
all right, so we'll, as a board, we'll put that together and let you know, chief.
Okay.
Probably let you know either before the next meeting or after next. And then by then, will you have your other committee people?
Yeah, I'll have,
lined up.
I'll have the rest of it by then we can work on a date.
Okay,
First get together.
okay,
I don't remember getting those plans out of my personal email or the iPad.
I asked him to send them out and I got them.
I didn't get it.
well,
I haven't seen them.
yeah, I put them in my computer.
No,
so I can
Chief did.
find those emails and see when they were tagged with.
Yeah, Ken, I'd like to get that one metal one
Okay.
printed off.
Well, good. But let's find out which plan that is. I
Yeah.
got 2 or 3 of them in my computer. Let's pin down which one it is. And
Okay.
let me know. And then I can look at how many drawings it is
Yeah.
and figure out how big we can go. I can go 24-inch wide by 36. That's big.
That's plenty good. That's usually what I build to anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
I'll go back and double check my email.
Okay.
I don't know.
You would be a good one on that committee.
Okay.
With your background.
Yeah.
I can
I'm
fab
not
it
sure
and
which-
Tom can put it
Not
up.
sure which plan you're looking at.
I don't know what
Is it
to
the
do.
one that goes across?
Yeah, it's the one that goes, it's the one that goes across the road here, right?
Yeah.
That's the last one that Bob was working on.
That's actually a pretty decent building.
Yeah,
I just kind of struggle with the location.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be built back here. And then eventually that station gets demoed and becomes a parking lot for the city. I just don't see that.
No, I don't want to do that either.
I think we're gonna have to have.
I-
Negotiations.
Part of the one goal that I want to meet is, and the reason why I kind of want a different site. Is I look at what Clackamas has got down there on 130th. I'm not saying we need to be that big. But I would like a site that we could have in the future, a better training facility. A couple day truck shop. And admin, sleeping quarters and apparatus parking all in one area and have. If this is the right location. I would like to be able to pull that off in time, not in one bite, but. That's kind of what I think the future of this fire district is.
They're building for expansion.
Yeah, I mean, you look at what. You know, a scale down of what Clackamas has on 130th. They have their training, they have their admin, they have their firehouse, they have, you know, yeah, everything right there. And then they in a sense treat every other firehouse as a substation. So having that key home and making sure that we're not selling ourselves short physical size wise as land is what I'm looking at. Cause I would think that we would all agree that our training facility needs some upgrades, wouldn't you think?
Yeah,
Some sort. Now, what that exactly looks like, I don't know.
The burn chambers that are there aren't end of life, but they're kind of getting. They're getting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
They
not
only
saying,
last so long.
you know, and so that's it. I hate to build a new firehouse, like Tom says, the location. Tear this down and not have enough room to address that in the future. And so, you know, it's that vision of where we're gonna be in 20 years, not so much the vision of where we're at today. It's where do we, you'd be foolish to build what we need today, you know, completely. I mean, I can see the firehouse, you know, being, you know, maybe 10 to 20% bigger than what we need. But, you know. It's like Clackamas High School. They built the new Clackamas High School. By the time they got it done, it was already too small. And so we don't want to do that. So anyway,
Okay. We'll bring back to budget goals. But director budget goals, what was that?
So typically, in my past experience, to go around and each director has budget goals, what they would like to see for the next fiscal year, whether that's savings or I want to replace this or whatever that might be. It's let's say a wish list, but it helps guide the next budget. So what are we trying to accomplish out of that? Saving more money and what for, how come, all that kind of stuff. So I like to start with Director Miller.
I'll start. I believe that we have to show our community, we have to invest, that we're willing to invest in ourselves, that we've been smart with the company, with that money that the taxpayers given us. I am not 100% sure that if we went out for a bond for a new firehouse, that it would pass. We have to have, in my opinion, that insurance policy of showing the community that we have been smart with their money and we're willing to invest X amount of dollars into this new firehouse. So I think that we really need to try and pull that off. I look at through the WUI grant with the new pieces of equipment we bought, the PPE that we've all gotten since we restarted. I mean, we've come, in my opinion, a long, long way. I know, Chief, you were saying that there are some things that you want to do and improve on. I'm not saying I disagree with that. It's just, I don't know, I think cash in the reserve account is king. And when we go to build a new firehouse, I mean, it's gonna be a lot of money. And having a war chest, I think, is gonna be critical.
I will point out our war chest has got a really good start. And I actually believe that we're gonna finish in a really good place again.
Yeah,
It's at this point, it's a little early to say this is where I think we're at, but
yeah,
I foresee us in the good spot again.
yeah. I mean, we're amazingly in a good financial spot. It's just, I feel we need to be smart with that money. And we start talking about a firehouse with prevailing wage and everything else. I mean, it's gonna eat up a lot of cash. So
Yeah, like I said, I think the last meeting, I talked a little bit about the USDA options that are there, and those look really good, but that's gonna be about timing too, as far as when that grant money is available, which would be worth it to wait if they can fund 55% of the project. I think Director Day, you had experience with that as far as USDA funding, so I may lean on you for some guidance on that when the time comes.
Well, a lot of that funding, I know, double what Miller said requires capital contributions, so.
Yep.
Kind of like the skate park. They went after a grant, trying to get the skate park going, and the kids raised like $20,000, and they went to the state parks. I was like, no, they kept getting turned down, Finally, there was some larger donations in, and the city matched those donations, and they went and they were like, okay, we got, $250,000. I can't remember what the exact thing was for. Guy from the state park came out and, yep, okay, they funded the project. So I think we're gonna be in that same position.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's the only thing I just keep cautioning of is to be careful with the savings that we don't destroy it, so that when we do need a type 1, that we're not stuck and going now how we got to.
well, and that's where we're at.
Because I'm not gonna be here when you guys buy your next type 1. And it's so far down the road, it's outside of my view, but I want the next guy to be able to do that and not be stuck. And this community would be stuck otherwise without it, so
Well,
it's a balancing act.
yeah, and that's where we're at. We can't, in a sense, rob the fire department so blind to build a new firehouse that we have no other money to keep investing in it.
That's probably my biggest worry with this project as we go forward.
Well,
So we
and-
rob that.
And I think that, maybe, the committee for the new fire station, maybe looking at crystal ball, and I mean, you have down here for, where did I see it at? Type 1, you said? And no, when was the replacement on that?
Yeah, 2035, 2040,
Yeah,
yeah, that's. and-
so in that, that whole looking at the crystal ball as to what potential tax base we're gonna have with this new growth too, but. With, when I'm hearing 2% growth for 10 years, that kind of puts the brakes on some things, we're gonna be approaching that 2035, pretty quick, in 2040, pretty quick in that 10 years, if it turns out to be 2% growth for 10 years.
20% for 2 years.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, I'm talking 2% growth in the economy for 10 years. So, which, that puts the brakes on, everything else down the line.
I do want to caution you on your terminologies, though.
Yeah.
Robbing the firehouse is probably not a term that we want to talk.
Well, that's true. I use
Us
that-
old guys will get a little offensive.
I use that term when I built my first building. I legally robbed my company to build the first building. Is what I did.
Yeah.
And because it was our future.
Yeah.
So.
So continued savings is.
Yeah, we don't, yeah, exactly. I mean, it's continued savings for firehouse and for apparatus replacement.
Yeah.
I mean, when I came in here, if you looked at what we had in the reserve account for apparatus replacement, everything, it was pretty bleak.
Well,
It
it
was-
was bleak, because Chief Morrissey made a decision to keep 3 firefighters after a safer grant ended,
Yeah,
and it ate up all those dollars, so that
Yeah.
was poor planning.
yeah.
That was not looking to the future.
We've been very fortunate, in my opinion, to have the growth in the city
Mhm.
that we've had for our funding. But we also have to provide service for that growth.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, a balancing scale.
Mhm.
If you look at what we have now as far as paid people and what we had then, it's not too much different. Okay, look at the amount of growth we've had.
Yeah.
So I think that in the future, there's gonna have to be something there done.
Well, what we do have is the volunteer
Yes.
ranks to support that growth.
Yes, we do.
But yes, so there will need.
That's more or less how it's working. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we
We're
will
getting
need more career staff.
The
as
double
future
calls,
goes.
the fires, and it's working.
Yeah.
But again, we're busting at the seams, so
Yeah.
it's limited, it's got a shelf life.
Well, and that's the thing too, is that it'd be nice to pull a number out of the air. I mean, we have 5 beds here now. I mean, do we want a new fire station at 10,
Probably more than that,
Oh, yeah.
15? I mean,
that might
that's,
be more reasonable.
that number. So. Anyway. So we'll have to get those plans drawn or blown up. We can look at it and see how many beds they got in there, just to get an idea, just to see.
That'd be a good idea to go to her, Sandy, nobody's been over there in their new station and just see how it's laid out, how,
That's 2
Yeah.
stories.
I think this one over here.
Is it 2 stories?
Yeah.
New two?
Yep. And just to get an idea of the newer station, and how they laid it out.
Do they have a pole that you can come
I
out?
think they've still got a pole.
Yeah, okay.
Have you been to Sandy's?
I have not.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying, go Sandy's.
Yeah.
Well,
Sorry.
they've also ran into some challenges when they did their upgrade.
Elevators.
Challenge.
Didn't they have to put an elevator in for that second story? Cause I know
Yeah.
Clackamas did.
Elevators always gotta go in.
Yeah.
And I can't get around it.
That's a huge cost.
They did,
Yeah.
but they had some other issues with foundations and stuff.
Over Sandy,
And
oh, yeah,
They didn't anticipate,
No.
it took them forever to get that thing done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that stood there for a long time.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that almost would have been better to rip it all down,
Yeah.
but they had to keep part of it in order for it to be a remodel.
I-
I did kind of agree, I think.
Every time I've done a remodel, it has always cost more in time and money than just building new. And then you're always you're not getting 100% what you want when you remodel, because you're taking something that's existing and trying to make it work, and so. I have no intentions of adding on to this, to be honest with you. Still got, what was it, built in 62 or 60?
64.
65.
Okay, well, mid-60s.
No, they,
Yeah,
they finished it and it was open in 65,
yeah,
dedicated, yeah.
It was originally designed to have a second story.
Yeah.
To it, but you can't. do
I mean, you,
Doesn't meet the code now.
yeah, you
that.
add on to that or whatever, you still have
Mhm.
on the title, it still says 1965 or whatever year.
Put lipstick on it. too.
Yep.
Okay,
You got goals?
Budget goals? Do you have any budget goals?
We kind of feel like we kind of already talked
Yeah.
about it. I said.
And I-
Second is
Yeah, I agree.
where our,
Mine is, yeah, my priority is making sure the reserve funds
Mhm.
are funded, so we continue to pay cash for any of our equipment.
Right.
I think that's a wise use.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% against bond measures, but I generally don't support them. I always believe you should live within your means.
Yeah,
well, and with us being the second highest millage rate in the county, it's just kind of tough to ask for more money.
My second goal in budgeting is to make sure that the career of the volunteers are funded, supported, and continue with what we're going now. Those are my three
Mhm.
main budget goals.
I agree with the reserve fund. Um, Certainly agree with what making sure volunteers and couriers are taken care of. We're always looking forward. As far as like a bond, I like the idea of like this USDA thing where it's a 55% deal and we gotta come up with money and we save money to get there. I think at the time when you go to the public to start talking to the public, you open your books and say, here's what we've been doing for the last several years, and here's how we've saved money for this. And I think that's an easy buyout for the public to see what we've done to put it forward for this, instead of just all at once going out for a bond and here's a pretty picture of what we want to build, and the public hasn't supported that in the past. So we need to be proactive about showing them where we're going, where we're planning.
you can bet there's gonna be a school bond.
Yeah, that's true.
I was told that's coming up in the next year.
And their bonds up 2025, I believe, for.
We certainly don't want to do it the same year the school's doing theirs.
No, the goal would be to not do a bond, not do a levy. That would be to do it
would be-
through savings,
Yeah.
funding, other mechanisms, whether grants or whether we finance it with one of those low interest loans or the remainder, or however that works out. But again, I'd like to chase that stuff, but I gotta get some better direction as far as what that's gonna look like. Get that, and then I can start moving forward and start pursuing that kind of things.
That have a lot more community support doing.
Well, and. You know, when you're sitting here dreaming and, you know, have a building already, it doesn't hurt to get some lath out. And some orange tape and drive some stakes and some measurements and stuff and kind of start physically looking at it in a position rather than just on a piece of paper. So. Yeah,
Well, let's move forward with a committee and get that rolling. And,
Yeah.
in 6 people, we ought to be able to come up with some good ideas. Get in this direction, because we're not doing anything, talking about it. In every meeting, bringing it.
Yeah, no, I brought that up early on. when We started down this path. I don't want to spend meeting after meeting, just keep talking about it, and then we're starting to go that direction. We gotta start.
yeah, we're not giving the rubber meeting the road, we're just talking, yeah. Where's some action?
You know, now that we've been in business a year and a half, it's time to start looking for that. Okay. Anything else? Let's adjourn this meeting. Okay,
Thank you. You are.
One more.
Gonna hold you over for the next pancake breakfast, John?